have actually tried dropping the lawyer. And so I like, don't even say like I was a lawyer. Like, so I'll say I'm a life strategist. I help women plan their lives, right? That's like one of my gifts is planning, strategy, visioning.
Aman, welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. How are you?
I am fantastic and so excited to be back after 2 years.
I know. So, everybody, if you haven't listened to my previous recording with Aman, I will tag it here. You have to go listen. It's phenomenal. But a lot has changed, right? You were a partner at a law firm, which you had worked really hard to get there. You were married. You had one son. You were thinking about podcasting, and you also were one of the first people who I had ever heard talk about having a marriage meeting where you sit down with your spouse and you say, what's going on? What do you like? What don't you like? What can we work on? What are our goals? And I was like, that's too much, right? You're a lawyer. And you were like, no, it makes perfect sense because we're strategic. Why not do your marriage that way? And in the 2 years since we've talked, I've noticed a lot more people are, open about things like that. But now things are very different. You are now working predominantly for yourself, if not 100% for yourself. Okay. You and your husband have launched a podcast called Marriage with Intention.
That's right.
And you have 2 boys. So I do want to say on your website, there's this image of you with this purple background with all these like words that look like it's handwritten, all the things about you. And it's one of my favorite pictures because you're so vibrant. And like the picture you had before, you were still very vibrant, but it's like, you look so free and I love it. I love it. So anywho, why don't you tell the audience about yourself? Anything that I missed in that whole intro?
Let's see. My husband also left the law. We've left 1 month apart. So we met in law school, right? So we were both practicing for 12 years. And then I left, but like originally the plan was he was supposed to leave first. And then he's like, wait, what? You're leaving? And so then anyway, we planned how to marry like an intense like marriage weekend where we were like, hey, how do we financially plan for this? What does that look like? Like we had like 7-8 years like that we've been planning for if we ever wanted to leave, that we would have the ability to leave, like to have the option. And yeah, it was just like, okay, how do we make that possible for you? So we literally sent like a really intense weekend, right? Because there's like so much there to unpack and you can't force, like I'm already doing it. And it's like, if you want to do it, this is how we're going to make that happen. So yeah, so he left. And then before we had our second son, which we were in fertility treatment for, a miracle happened. And so we were so blessed for that. But we're like, we don't have our careers right now. Let's go travel. So we spent a month in Amsterdam. We went to Pompeii and we spent 2 weeks in Sardinia, which is an island just off of Italy. And so we went and traveled and toured and did all of that. Before our second son was born. So really just kind of embracing, like your life changes like every season. So just really embracing that as well. But everything else, I think, yeah, you pretty much covered. I still teach yoga to lawyers. One of your past guests, her name's Lauren Klein. She has a private lawyers group. So I still teach once a month. I teach lawyers yoga there.
I love that. And I know before you were an extra in a Christmas movie. Now you've been in 2, or were you?
Yeah. So I actually went to another one when I was 8 months pregnant, although it was not a Christmas rom-com. It was a thriller. And I was just not vibing with it. And yeah, they ended up like, you have to wait so long, which is fine. But like being 8 months pregnant, I was like, I really want to do this again. Because like I will go for free and I will sit there and I have no issue. Like if I am going to be in the movie, I am like here for it. I just love it so much. Like just the environment, meeting the people you meet, like it's the most interesting people that you meet. And anyway, I ended up leaving. So I never ended up being in that thriller, but my eyes and my ears are always like to the ground. Like when is the next one that I'm doing?
I think in life, we are always surprised by things. And so who knows, maybe this is the foundation of you having a speaking role in a movie in a couple of years. Like I love that you're getting those kind of repetitions in now of what it's like. So yeah. Okay, so what's it like being a podcaster? Do you love it?
I love it so much. So like speaking for me is I think like overwriting is just I have just so much more, like as you said, like I'm vibrant, I have things to say, I like to be practical, like to have the actionable practical tips like takeaways. I love the storytelling part because like we all have such experiences and different things that we've built over the years that, like, I want to pass that on. I want to share that knowledge. I want other people to do it faster with more ease and have fun along the way, and just to be able to share that. And I love podcasting. So my husband and I do the Marriage with Intention together, but I actually want to create like my own TV channel style, like just riffing, like just like hot takes. Like I can get really fired up sometimes, as you were saying, right? Like that vibrant freeness that you saw in that picture of me. Like I'm just stepping more and more into that. And like, I just want to share and talk, and podcasting is like such the platform for it that it's like given me inspiration to do more.
Absolutely. So what type of TV shows would you talk about? What are you watching?
Oh, so I want to be the TV show. Like I want to be like
got you. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it's I call it like TV channel, but it's not really, because like we've progressed since then. But yeah, I just want to be able to talk like hot takes. People, like, you know, when you leave the law, people think that like I do nothing. They think I do nothing all day, that I watch Netflix all day. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, I thought that you knew me, because I'm still a high achiever. I still love to do like multiple things. I have different interests. And like, I'm raising 2 kids, like, but I have like all these different things that I want to do and that I am doing, but they're like, oh, you just like sit around and watch Netflix. Like I could never do that. I'd be so bored. And I'm like,
well, I asked because in September 2025, I started a second podcast, and I'm a co-host with someone I used to work with, and he's obsessed with reality TV. And he was like, you should watch this show and we can talk about it. I was like, I don't know. I'm not really into it, but that's our entire angle, and people love it because I'm the novice and he's the expert. Like he's been to BravoCon and everything. And it's really funny. And I was so nervous to publish it because I was like, I'm this professional. I can't. And I think that it actually helps with this podcast because people get to see me as like well-rounded. You know what I mean?
Yes, but tell me the name of the show that he asked. Now I'm wondering if I've seen it.
Overanalyzed with Dom and Kyla. So we're on YouTube, and then we're on every podcast platform as well. So it's been fun. All about Real Housewives. We watch a couple of episodes of like Sex and the City and talk about it. We did a couple episodes of Bridgerton, but it's really funny because I really thought everyone on the Real Housewives just like sat around and had brunch all day, and I'm learning that they don't. And I'm like, I didn't know these women were complex. So it's really fascinating. So I think it's funny that you said people think that you're just sitting around doing nothing, because you were and still are a very high achiever. But it's easier when they can put you in that box. You are a lawyer. You're a partner at a law firm. Makes sense. How do you describe yourself now? Like, how do you introduce yourself to other people?
Oh, it's been such a transition, like trying, because like people love the box. And as soon as you start with lawyer, they're like, oh, they like start, you know, collecting all the characteristics of a lawyer. Like, oh, you're smart. Oh, that means, you know, these things about you. And now I have actually tried dropping the lawyer. And so I like don't even say like I was a lawyer. Like, so I'll say I'm a life strategist. I help women plan their lives, right? That's like one of my gifts is planning, strategy, visioning. And I also have brought back my vision board workshop. So I've actually led 5. I still have one more in-person one next week, but I have led 5 vision board workshops. And it's been like really cool to see like 50% lawyers and 50% entrepreneurs, high achieving women with big visions just need the space to be able to create it. So that's been so fun to me. But I've been dropping the lawyer, or like I bring it back and just seeing the difference in people's reactions and in my own, right? Like in my own security, right? Because I work so hard for that title, and to be able to introduce myself that way and to be able to fit in the box, that I just have to sit with the discomfort and kind of feel what feels right to me. So I usually say I'm a life strategist, I'm a vision board workshop leader, and I also am a podcaster.
Yeah. I've gone through something similar. You know, if you're listening to this and you're like, what are you talking about? Of course you tell people you're a lawyer. It's not the lawyer, and it's not that we disliked being lawyers. It's that, of course, that first impression, people imagine the lawyers that they interacted with, whether they liked them or hated them. And then also they try to then reconcile who they're meeting with what they think of a lawyer. And so they don't really get to meet you. They're kind of like, are you better or worse than the lawyers I've met? And so I introduce myself as a storyteller, and then people are always like, oh, give me more, right? And so every now and then I will like drop the lawyer part in there just to get a reaction. Or then I'm like, oh, I host a show called You Are a Lawyer. Oh, how do you know lawyers? Oh, well, I am a lawyer. What? Now they have to try to see how that fits into who they met. And it's way better.
Yes, it's so fun.
Yeah, it's much, much better. let's talk about vision boards. I love that you're running these vision board workshops. I have had good and less positive experiences with vision boards. I remember making one after I graduated from law school, and I had all these images of strong, powerful women in suits and all these things. And I did not pass the bar exam the first time I took it, and I was devastated. And I did not make another vision board for about 8 years. And then I read this book called Jump, and the author talks about vision boards, and she's like, it's not pictures of things that you want. That is a to-do list of things you can get, right? She's like, you need to have images that make you smile, powerful images that speak to you, even if it's like an image of a wave. It doesn't have to be the word powerful. You know what I mean? I think the last time I wanted it to be like a magical spell, right? Like I put it together and it had to work, and that's not it. So all this to say, what do you teach in your vision board workshops, and what's that like?
I have like the softer side, and I also have like the strategic brain logical side. So I like to bring them both together, and I do a visualization. And honestly, I get kind of a sense of the group. I also did a university, like a women in business. Like think, you're in your undergrad and you've got, the whole world in front of you. So I just ran one for them too. So for them, I did a visualization on like a future shop. And it was inspired by Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School. She talks about the future shop. But basically, I was like, think of it like Sephora, right? And we're going to talk about all different 8 life categories of your life. And like, let's go shopping. You've got it, you've got a concierge who's going to like push your buggy, and you can put everything that you like aspire and desire in there. And then there's also the strategic side. So like if they came with something specific that they want, like quite a few of them want to go to law school. And I was someone who drove around with a 160 LSAT score, like in my car, and in my room, I had like 160 LSAT. I did not get 160 on the LSAT. I got 140 multiple times, 3 times over, like somewhere in that range. Like I sucked at the LSAT. And I am not a stat that is in the law school forum or anything like that. But I got into law school. I had a super high GPA. The first time I got rejected I applied to the Canadian Western schools, got rejected across the board. And then the following year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the LSAT again. Oh no, I keep getting the same freaking score. That's not good. So I'm going to work on my GPA. And then I applied to most schools across Canada. And then I got accepted into 3. So the 160 LSAT score did not mean I was going to get 160 on the LSAT, right? And that was hard for me to take because I think I was expecting it to be like this magic spell that was going to get me that 160. Boom, I was going to get in. I was going to stay on the West Coast. And anyway, I ended up meeting my husband in law school. So it all ends up working out in the end. But it gave me that thing to focus on, where to channel my energy so that you don't get caught up in the law school forum, which was, the equivalent of comparison at that time, and trying to research my way out of things and out of my life. So it just allows me to stay focused. So I really do try to blend in that visualization, the most calming place on earth, let's go there. And I take women there. And a lot of us just don't even stop long enough to think about how I want to feel in my day-to-day, and what's so fascinating is sometimes it's just the smallest things, like you were saying. Yeah. It's sometimes the smallest things that's what we want, which honestly, it doesn't take that much effort to create.
It doesn't take the effort to create. I think the hardest part is the sitting down and saying, what do you want? And giving yourself the time. And maybe it doesn't show up the first time you sit down, right? I like to tell the story of December 2024. I reset my nervous system accidentally because I was running the podcast still. I had some other things. I was working for clients and I was busy. And so I got a job so I could pay all the VAs to run the business. And I was going. And I was top of the mountain. I was exhausted. And we had 2 weeks where we didn't have to come into the office. And so I sat down. I would get up at 5:30 in the morning and just stare out the window with a glass of water. And I reset my nervous system. And I asked myself what I wanted. And I had never done that, or at least hadn't done it in 15 years. And I just cried. And all this to say, it turned out to be beautiful because I thought, if I become a millionaire, will I need to be married? Or if my podcast is successful, do I still want my friends? And I had never asked myself those things, but I wanted to. And I am still married and I love it. And I do still have my friends, but I was afraid that if I asked myself, it would strip everything away. And it's almost comical now because I'm like, Kyla, you wasted so much time because you were just afraid to ask, right? Do you go through something like that in the vision board workshops before you have everyone create their vision board?
So my sessions are 2.5 hours. And the first like half an hour to 45 minutes is spent on just like visualizing and thinking and writing. Like I have a journaling piece in there as well. Some people nowadays, right, if it's not creating a vision board versus creating one, they'll make the virtual board. And because, it just involves less stuff and like thinking ahead of time. And I want there to be a space for that. So we will write stuff down. That becomes their search terms. But the most powerful piece of the vision board workshops, now having helped like over, I think I'm almost at like 200 women now. It's the sharing. It's the speaking into existence. And like I've had people start crying because they are so inspired by the women in the room, by the permission or the ability or the space to think bigger, to be like, oh, I don't have to live my life this way. I can change my life. I can want things. I can desire things. And like, I'm actually just stopping, like you said, and like creating that space for people who want to cheer you on, right? Not all of us, including myself, have people in their lives who are wishing them the best, right? And want, like, I've got dream killers and then energy suckers, right? And this room though is like full of women who want you to succeed. They want, like, next time they see you, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Aman, did you take that trip that you had talked about? Aman, did you start learning to ski with your kids, right? Like they want you to succeed. And so you're speaking it into existence before you even leave, regardless of if you change your mind later, something else happens. It just like gives you that ability to like create and like keep doing it. Let momentum in a way too.
Yeah, keep doing it. And it's so crazy, but I feel like life just gets busy and we just kind of forget that we either had dreams or we stopped asking ourselves, were those existing dreams still valid? And you just kind of, who has time to dream? I mean, I know it's true that people typically will only make a change if like they're pushed to or something big happens. And so I love that when women are ready to make a change, they can reach out and say, I think vision boards are cool, or maybe I don't have too many experiences with them. Let me work out with you and see how I can fit this into my life and make it make sense. So I think that's really, really good.
So basically women reach out to me because I share a lot about planning. I plan my months ahead. I'm sure you do too. But I plan my like months ahead. I like today I just came off of a call with my mastermind sisters. We've been planning for 6 years together now this year. We meet every Friday at the same time and we plan our next week ahead, or we do those tasks that you've been putting off. So that's what we do for 1 hour, and it just like we get it done, we plan the next week. And I just have this like ability, like, so then you're not rushing, and you like, you're not trying to scramble, like you can live a less stressed out life. And I did this with my practice. I merged personal and professional together. And I do that now with my business and my life and my kids and my husband, like us making sure we have the time together as well. And like what's important to me, like exercise, getting back into whatever form of body I'm walking into after having 2 kids in the last 3 years. And so for me, it's like planning is one of my super strengths. I'm like, I can't believe, like, I plan my next day the night before. Like I do all of right. Like I think that's how I function as a human. And I have more space, more freedom, more time to think, more ability to be present. And I think women see me doing all these different things and like actually following through. That's one of the things. Like, say I'm going to start a podcast, and now you see me, right? 2 years later, and I've started the podcast. I'm not the person who's still saying, yeah, I want, like, one day I'm going to start it, or I'm not sure about the tech or anything like that. Like I follow through and I do it. I want this next. Like probably next time you talk to me, I'm going to have a TV channel of some sort where I'm like doing hot takes, maybe flying around the world to go meet my lawyers who were former lawyers, and like we talk in person. And anyway, just like I'm that person who follows through. Women reach out to me and they're like, can you help me? I have all these ideas of these things I want to do. So I meet with them one-on-one and we just break down like, okay, what do you need to get rid of? Right? Like, what is it that you want to focus on right now? A lot of us think we want to do all of the things all right now. Well, like, I'm going to be honest, then you're not going to really do any of them. So we got to like figure out what those priorities are. So that's what we do. We just basically, I strategize, I help them plan. It seems so simple, but then I'm like their accountability person as well. So to making sure that they follow through, because it's easy for us to just kind of swipe left on a notification and be like, oh, I'll deal with that later. And then it just kind of goes into nowhere. And I'm there to make sure, like, let's follow through. Let's do this, right? Like, you committed to doing this. Let's get it done. And then we just get it done. And then we move on to the next thing that you want to do that's on your list.
Yeah, I love that. The accountability piece is really important because even if you're a self-starter and really disciplined, we all can have those moments or the seasons change and you're like, okay, I'm a little less of a self-starter, a little bit less disciplined. But if you have that, friendly accountability, that always helps. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then I also have a group yearly program as well that I do. So it's called the Sisterhood, where women turn vision boards into reality. So essentially, those same components: planning, strategy. We're going to take your vision board and we're going to create, like, we're going to bring it to life. So if you said you wanted to get back into tennis, like, in the one of the months of our year together, you're going to get into tennis. You're going to go find your stuff. You're going to go find where you can go, right? So we like break it down into those simple things. So you've then told people, and the next time we see you, you're either going to say, I did go to tennis, or this is what happened, but I'm planning to go, X time. So yeah, I just love creating like that community, as well as working one-on-one and helping people like do what they actually say they want to be doing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm loving this because I have become more of a woo woo type lawyer. And so I was on your page and I saw that you're a manifesting generator, which I am as well, which when I realized that and had a human design reading, it really kind of unlocked my brain because they were like, you do get ideas and you feed off of the ideas and you go, go, go. And then 2 days later, you sit down because you're exhausted because you just planned the next 6 months. And that's how you're built. And I was like, I thought I just worked hard and then I had to procrastinate. And it was like, no, that's literally how you're built. But then also, you're a tarot card reader. Where did that part come in?
I think as part of my evolution, I want to say, where I started taking back control of my life as a lawyer, and I realized, like, okay, I checked off all the boxes, right? Like, we know them, right? Go to school, get a career, get married, have kids, and become a partner. Done. I've done the whole checklist society tells you. And then I really wanted to figure out like who I am, right? So human design is one of those ways. Vision board is one of the ways, right? Tarot card reading was one of the ways that I had heard. Astrology was one of the ways that I had heard. So really just trying to connect with those different pieces of who I am, and seeing if I had, like kind of a bit of, I'm intuitive, very intuitive. And people kept telling me that. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm not too sure. And then it kind of kept showing up a little bit more. And I'm like, tarot card reading can be an intuitive way to read for other people as well as yourself. So I started doing them for myself, and then I started offering them to the lawyers that I was doing yoga with. I was like, oh, I have this, like, I want to do a reading for you. Is anybody interested? And so lawyers signed up, and I just really stepped into like my gifts, right? Like, it's, yes, I'm very strategy, but I'm also very like soft, creative, intuitive. Um, like you said, I kind of have that rush of energy of like creativity, ideas, execution, and then I like come down for a bit. Then I'll come back up, like all like charged up, right? So it was really just on my path of like self-discovery, and it was incorporating different tools. And that was just one of the tools that I was using and still use to like navigate my life.
Yeah, I love this. I'm so excited because if you don't mind me asking, are you over 30 years old?
Yes.
Okay. And I am over 30 years old. And so you've also been practicing for 12 years. You became a partner. I was working in law firms for 5 years. And I'm saying all of this because if you are in law school or a young lawyer listening, you don't have to have it figured out, but your life can still be good and know that it can still get better. That was the hard piece for me when I got out of law school because I was like, I'm fine. I'm content. This is everything. And then we had our daughter right smack dab in the beginning of the pandemic, June 2020. And I just was like, I don't want to be a workaholic anymore. And it switched just like that, right? My husband and I would sit next to each other for hours, just working, working, working. And then I watched her trying to like pull herself up on a chair. And I was like, but I want to do that. How do I do that? And never in a million years would I have thought that that would have changed. But I am still working equally as hard. I just enjoy it so much more. And the effort, there's zero effort because I'm actually having fun with it. And I just never knew that that was possible. So I love that you are saying a lot of those same things that I've gone through, and you just went through them in your own way, right? So I think it's really important that we're sharing this because we're not saying you're going to end up reading tarot cards in a couple years. We're just saying you're not one thing, and that's really powerful.
Yes, I relate to a lot of what you said. Like, I left the law from a place of feeling happy and complete. And I know the narrative for many people is like, oh, it was a split decision. She just made her mind. Like, no, I left from like, I was really happy with my career and it just felt complete. And I had gone back for a 1 year after having my first son. And like you just explained, it gave me insight. But up to that point as well, there had been things that had happened in my life and in my career that just kind of started collecting and building up. Like in my 20s, I worked really fucking hard. And then I worked really hard in my 30s as well. And then it came to a point where I'd had my first child and I was like, I enjoy, like, I'm happy, I'm complete, and it's time for me to leave. And it was never from a place of being like miserable, unhappy. Like, I have one of those happy lawyer profiles, like in multiple places, right? Like, I was teaching yoga to lawyers. I really enjoyed like the type of law that I did. I'm so proud of myself for being like unhappy in my first kind of 5, 6 years and really shifting and designing it, right? I like designed my own legal career for myself that I wanted in a way that worked for me. And then it just came time where all these things, like life and otherwise, had started stacking up. And I was like, I think my past self, she set me up for now. And I think it's time for me to leave. I have all these other dreams that I still want to do, I still want to pursue. And I want to go try and see if I can make them work now. And I really think that that part of that narrative is important because a lot of people look, they're like, oh, you just left because like you couldn't hack it, because you couldn't, this, that, or the other thing. And I think, like you said, I still work very hard, even though my kids are young, but I just love it so much. And I love like just being in, like I said, being in rooms where women are, crying because they're inspired, not because somebody yelled at them. It's just such a different feeling. And I just love that. And I'm like, more please. And I just recently spoke at the university and I'm like, I want to do more of this. I want to speak more. And so I just, like trying those things, right? Action creates clarity, as James Wedmore says. And I'm just kind of like, I want to like try it. Do I like it? And then more of it. Or I tried that, don't like it, don't want to do that again.
Yeah. Just like we tell our kids, you don't have to love the broccoli, but at least try it and just see.
Yeah.
Just try it. Just try it and see. All right. So I have one last question for you, and I ask this of every guest. What would you say to a young lawyer, 5 years practicing or less, or a law student about what they can do with their law degree?
Ooh. Anything as long as you educate yourself on personal finance. And give yourself options. I think the golden handcuffs are real. And I think for me, like that's part of my story. It's like you got to educate yourself on personal finance and then anything is possible.
Yeah. I saw that you are a financial independent, retire early alumni. And I was like, oh my gosh, I used to want to be a FIRE participant. And then I didn't understand it because I would see these YouTube videos of people that were like, I am in FIRE, da da da, but they were still working and they were selling stuff. And then one day it clicked and I was like, no, it's not the golden handcuffs that you're working, but you still get to create an impact and share. Did you have an experience like that as well?
Oh man. So I'll answer this in the shortest way I possibly can. So my husband and I started on the FIRE movement because I was in the unhappy lawyer phase, right? And it was like one day I want to be able to leave and I want to be self-sufficient, be financially independent so that I can make my own decisions. I don't want anybody to own me. I'm like, I had paid off $100,000 of student loan debt and a Mercedes that I bought right when I became a lawyer. And my husband also bought a Mercedes. And it was like, no, I want $1 to my name and I don't want anybody owning me. Like that was part of my thing. I want to be free on my own terms. So that FIRE movement appealed to me. And then it switched. It became like just financial independence. I didn't want to retire early, even though people love to say like, oh, I retired myself from the law at 38. I'm like, okay, that's a cool way to say it. I like it. But it's like that financial independence. Like I just wanted that and being able to make decisions. So I still want to do impactful work in the world. I still want to speak. I still want to make money. I still have big dreams and big goals, but it just gave me again that like possibility and then like set me up for the life that I have now.
Yeah. I forget what book it was. And if I remember it, I'll make sure I put it in the episode notes. But I also was watching like an interview with Meryl Streep and she was talking about why she still acts. And I was like, what's the big deal? You have all the accolades, you've been in everything. And she's just like, it's a job. I love it. I didn't do it for the awards, which means I'm not going to stop just because I have the awards. And that kind of was the thing that made, I was like, oh, I get it. It's not the retiring, meaning you'll never work again. It's I'm financially independent. And so now literally every option is available, which includes if I want to keep teaching yoga, which includes if I want to have vision board workshops, right? And so I think that part is really good. I didn't want to leave without touching on that.
Yes. No, it's like that creativity, right? It's like I get to tap into that, create things for the world and to help other people. And I get to do that on my terms in the way that I want to. And it's not like, oh, I just sit and watch Netflix all day. Like that was never the goal. The goal was to be able to do what I want, like that time freedom, money freedom, relationship freedom, to be able to kayak at 2 p.m. with my husband during the day, right? Like those were day dates, right? We don't really do night dates. We do day dates, right? Because we've created that life because that's what we envisioned for our lives together. And like we're doing it. So it's like, it's just that ability to do what you want with your life.
Yes. Oh, I love it. This was so good. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you for coming on the show again, because your life looks very different from the last time. And I love that we're able to share that with the audience. I love it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.